voila. So, as I mentioned, this is a Magic with Myro workshop. This is kind of all of my stratagems, my flimflams, my tricks, all those delightful things for how I've made workshops work in the virtual world. And as I mentioned, this is my go-to tool, my favorite tool for virtual collaboration. As I said, it's the first time I'm doing this, so I don't know how long it will take. I'm aiming for around about an hour. As I said, you're my guinea pig, so do bear with me. I would love to hear your feedback as to how you think it went. You should now be seeing the ability to navigate around Myro. I'm sharing that via my screen, but I'm going to bring everyone to me just in case. And what I'm going to start with, and this is what I often start with, is I'm very keen to crowdsource either the agenda or the topics or that sort of thing when I'm doing these workshops. I want people to feel engaged. So there's 8 topics on this screen here. You can see them. They say how to use Myro, Icebreakers, the Miroverse, Affinity mapping, voting, capturing feedback after the workshop, and promoting engagement. And I'd like to allow you guys to choose which of those topics we cover first. It does make sense to do capturing feedback at the end, so I wouldn't recommend that. But how I'd like you guys to vote is essentially dot voting, virtual dot voting. And to the left of the screen here, you can see all these tiny little cat emojis. If you are unfamiliar with using Myro, make sure you've got on the left-hand navigation panel here, you've got a select cursor. Make sure that's highlighted, and that will allow you to drag these emojis around. What I'd like you to do is just in the first minute or so, drag a cat emoji to whichever topic you're most keen to think about first, or to talk through first. And the one that gets the most votes is what we start with.
Chris, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. And Jamie, raise your hand as well.
Sorry,
I was just wondering if someone can share the link to the Myro board again. I joined a little late.
It should be built into the meat butter link, but I will share.
Oh,
I'll share in the chat
I
as well.
missed it somewhere. Okay, thank you.
And sorry, there was someone else who was speaking, asking a question.
Sorry, Christian. I couldn't see the specific board that you were mentioning. I just see the board annotation screen. That's only the only thing I can see here at the moment.
I'm sharing a Myro link in the chat, so you'll be able to jump on that and you'll find your way there. Apologies for those running late. That's the link you'll need to be at. So what we're doing at the moment is we're allowing people to dot vote using cat emojis. The topic most important to you right now. Which would you most like to start with? And at the moment, it seems to be a clear lead for how to use Myro. I'm guessing by the number of votes here, that's a pretty unassailable number of votes. So it looks like we're going to be starting with that. Right, let's crack on. So how to use Myro. I love this topic because it's great to start off a workshop with. Often I find that if you're doing a workshop, a remote session with anyone, whether it's training, whether it's an Agile ceremony, and perhaps if you're using Myro for the first time, it's great to kick off with an exercise to introduce people how to use Myro. It will speed up the session, the flow of the session, by ensuring everyone knows the basic functionality. And often I like to do so with a game. This is a game called the Myro Storm Challenge. I'm going to bring people to where I am. And what you will find is you are here. This is basically a virtual gauntlet. So there's lots of things that you can do. The idea is you start from the left-hand side, you put your name in, and then you progress from left to right through all of these little tasks that are related to using Myro. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you guys how to do these things for those that are completely unfamiliar. And then once I've shown you, it's over to you, and you've got to try and complete it yourself. And there will basically be a time. You have to input the time it took you at the end here, at the finish. If I scroll down, you should see there are lots of these boards, so there should be room for everyone to have a go, or lots of people to have a go. Hopefully there's enough. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you right at the beginning. We start here. It says post a rectangular sticky note in the box below. Can everyone just see my screen? Can I just confirm that's still the case?
I think I've zoomed out far too far.
Okay. So I'm going to bring everyone to me again. Right, we should be here. There's a little box saying place a rectangular sticky note in the box below. To place a sticky note, you can either press N on your keyboard, and that will that will open the sticky note button. And you can just press one in, left click and put it there. Or on the left navigation panel, you can, below where the T is, there is a sticky note image, and that will allow you to select sticky notes too. Really easy, so feel free to give that a go. While people are doing that, the second box, if we continue further along the path, says add a picture of your last holiday destination. Insert a picture from the internet or one of your personal photos. Basically, go to Google your last holidays destination, Google the location, and then right-click and Control-C and Control-V, and that will allow you to paste an image inside Myro. I often use these for icebreakers, for all sorts really, but pasting an image of something can be very helpful. So again, feel free to give that a go, your last holiday destination. Hopefully it doesn't make you too sad thinking about holidays, knowing that a lot of people can't do that right now, but Control-C and Control-V is your answer to getting an image from Google, or any image really, into Myro. Feel free to give that a go. Moving a little bit further on, the next one, we've got a box full of sticky notes, and they're all of uneven size, and we want to try and tidy it up a little bit. So if you press Shift on your keyboard and then left click on your mouse, you can basically bulk select items. You'll probably see me now moving around all these items. What I'm going to do is even the size. Once you've done that, once you've bulk selected all of those post-it notes, you should have a size option up here. Where's that gone? I think it's because I've got the box behind highlighted as well, which I didn't want. There we go. Once you've bulk selected just the post-it notes, there is an option right in the middle, next to the color, it says size, and that will allow you to select small, medium, or large. Maybe this is easier if I share my screen rather than sharing the post-it note. Would be easy. Or is everyone following okay via Myro?
Okay, Myro.
Following okay? All right.
Yep.
Can you do that one again, the grouping one?
Yes.
Because I'm not getting what you're talking about. Because with everyone moving their cursors, all I'm seeing is lots of random things moving around as well as you. So
Okay.
it's very difficult to see what.
Sure. So one tip for you, when you're participating in a workshop like this, and just seeing some images appear. When you're participating in a workshop like this and you want to hide cursors, at the top of your screen you should have little images showing yourself and others. On the left-hand side, there is a button that's kind of like an arrow pointing upwards to the left and a couple of dashes. If you press that, it allows you to hide your fellow collaborators' cursors. And that can make it much easier to navigate and see things. Did people manage to do that? Did that work for you at all?
My system says it's syncing at the moment, so I can't do anything.
Okay.
Can you just repeat it again?
At the top of your screen, so beneath your search bar, there is little images of people, little circles, and you'll often have initials. So I've got CS at the top of mine. It's kind of left of where it says share, and to the left of your own name, your own initials, there is a cursor going up and to the left and a couple of dashes. And if you press that, it will allow you to hide your collaborators' cursors so you don't see everyone's.
Yep, sorted, thank you.
In fact, I'm just going to, what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen rather than, no, actually I'm going to leave that because if I do that, I don't think everyone's set to me on the Myro link. Right, so that was hiding collaborators' cursors. To make a group of post-it notes at the same size, you need to highlight them. To highlight them, you press Shift on your keyboard, and then you basically can draw a box, which will, often like a group select thing, probably a similar functionality to a lot of other applications has. This allows you to bulk select things. Once you've bulk selected, you've got another navigation panel that appears, and right in the middle of it is size. So if you open that up, you've got the option to make them all small, medium, or large. So I've just done it now. I've turned them all small. Now I've turned them medium. If I make them large, they're going to dwarf the screen. If we then move to the next one, you've got another group of post-it notes all together. And the task here, I think someone's moved this box a little bit, which makes it difficult to read, but that's okay. You've got a box full of post-it notes of different colors. And again, what we're looking to do is get you guys to bulk select them, bulk select any group of post-it notes. And then you've got the option to change the color. And right next to where it says size, there's a little fill color icon. If you then select post-it notes, you can bulk change them to a uniform color. I think part of the problem here is I didn't lock some of these things down, so people have moved them by mistake. But it happens. Which reminds me, locking down, hugely key bit of functionality if you are a workshop facilitator. When you create boxes, shapes, all sorts of things in Myro, and you are the host, you're the creator of the workshop, you have the ability to lock icons down or anything down really. To do so, once you've highlighted it, so left click it, there will be a little, if you are a facilitator, I don't think you guys will see this functionality, but there is a little padlock icon that appears, and it's hugely key if you are facilitating workshops. It avoids this sort of nightmare that people move things by mistake. So I can see lots of people are bulk change or changing colors. What I'd like you guys now is to add some shapes. So I'm going to bring everyone over to the shape section. Oh, got people moving this by mistake. Let me just lock this. So adding shapes in the left-hand navigation panel, beneath the little sticky note button or sticky note icon, there is a shape that often starts off as a square by default. If you select that, you'll have options of shapes appearing. So feel free to add asterisks, triangles, any shape you like, and give it a color. There we go, we've got lots of shapes appearing: diamonds, clouds, stars, and yeah. If anyone's struggling with any of these, just call out and I'll remind you or help out. Ignore the next one because it's as I said, this is a template that I've copied from the Miroverse, but there are this you can use the same sort of gauntlet style to introduce people to the key bits of functionality within Myro. So what I'd like you guys to do, I'm going to bring everyone to the last part here, and that's add a comment inside this box with your name. And obviously, so all I'd like you to do is just put a post-it note or a text box. I'll make that box a little bit larger. In fact, I can't because someone's highlighted it, but put a post-it note. There you go. Put a post-it note or a text box with your name inside it. To do text, again, it's on the left-hand nav panel above the post-it note this time. If you press that and then click inside the box, you can add. Someone put their name as Henry VIII. Very nice. Okay, lots of names coming through. Roz, Sam, Simon, Julia, Orsi, Alex, and Henry VIII.
Should we be able to see a timer?
I didn't set a timer yet.
Cool.
So if I was getting you to self-serve and practice this yourselves, I would ask you to, or I'd set a timer, and then I'd get you guys to record, basically go through the whole gauntlet individually and see who could complete the quickest. But I'm just guiding you through this because I'm conscious some of you might not have known how to do some of this functionality. So you can basically use a simple approach like this to gamify introducing Myro to people. And again, this is good for the start of a workshop to introduce people how to use it, and that should make the rest of the workshop flow a little bit quicker. Right, what was highest voted next? Icebreakers. Let's go to Icebreakers then. So Icebreakers, really simple. One of the simplistic ways I do Icebreakers, and again, I'm going to bring everyone to me, is just create a space, a box, a frame where people can just input images or pictures or text or anything like that. And what I'd like you guys to do is help me think of an icebreaker. And the way I tend to do this is it's just a random question. You know, I always try to make time for personal interaction in workshops and sessions. Yeah, we don't have those. We can't go for a coffee with one another. We can't chat the water coolers these days, so we need to make time during meetings and workshops and sessions. So I like using icebreakers as a way of doing that. So I'd like you guys to help me think of an icebreaker. What question could we ask, and then get everyone to answer by sharing their response inside this box, this shape here. And I think what I'd like to do is make it a question that people can go away and provide an image from, like a Google thing. So maybe it's, who knows? Why don't we crowdsource it? What do you guys think? Put just start by inside the box, putting a post-it note of what type of question we could ask as an icebreaker. Put one in myself. All right, so we've got some post-it notes. Let's for those that have created them, some of them have come in a little bit small. So if you left click on them, you'll be able to drag the corners and size them a little bit larger so people can see it. So we've got a question. So someone's saying, where would you go on holiday next year? And what are you packing? I've put my usual question. What animal legs would you have and why? We've got a comment. What's your current TV series? What song would describe you best? Oof. What are you going to cook for dinner? What's that? What's your superpower? Like it. What's your favorite drink? What song would you describe you best? Okay, so we've got lots of ideas now. What I'm going to do is I'm going to introduce you to voting functionality. So we've kind of already shown one of my favorite ways to vote, which is dot voting using emojis. It's very simplistic. If you are a workshop facilitator, you will often have the ability to use the voting button, which is the little thumbs up icon at the bottom of the screen. So there's a navigation panel at the bottom. You've got like a clock, which is where you set your timer. 2 to the left of that is a voting button. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to enable that voting, and I'm going to allow you guys to vote. You get 2 votes each, and you're going to vote on these sticky notes. So the one that is the most highly voted will be the one that we do the icebreaker for. So I will, oh, I did not want to set it for that large. I'll just start and end. I accidentally set the vote for 15 minutes rather than 1 minute.
I think it said that the voting session was already ended.
No, I've just ended it because I created an error. So I'm just going to start a fresh one. So, should be appearing on your screens now. What's going to happen for you is those post-it notes will have a little plus icon appear at the bottom corner of them. That will allow you to put your votes. You'll have 2 votes each. So out of all those ideas you've seen, choose the one that you'd like to do the icebreaker on. I like that one. And so there's 50 seconds left on the voting. Again, voting via dot voting or using the vote functionality, a great way to crowdsource people's opinions, to get their thoughts. I find people that have had their voices heard, again, are far more likely to engage in the content that you're doing. So I often will look to crowdsource the order in which we do things. I will look to get votes on the most important topic to people, how to proceed with something if we want to try and come to a decision. There's all sorts of things you can use votes for. All right, so what's going to happen now is it's going to total up all the votes, and we should be able to see the result. And the one that gets the most votes. I need to refresh my screen quickly because it's giving me a bit of an issue. Someone also created a frame by mistake. Let's just remove that. So it says processing results. The top voted one is what is your superpower? So what I'd like you guys to do, that's us creating an icebreaker together. So that's what is your superpower. What I'm going to do is invite you to actually do the icebreaker now. So what is your superpower? If everyone could go to Google and in this space, in this white space that we've created there, paste an image that you feel represents your superpower. Icebreakers like these, for me, tend to be like a maximum of a 10-minute activity at the start of the session, just to warm you up, just to get everyone talking, to build a bit of rapport, to make time for personal interaction. So jump yourself over to Google and answer that question. What is your superpower? So we've got an image that looks like a cock on a bike. A biker chick, okay. Organization, great skill. I put down my superpower is putting people first. Someone's got what looks like dual wielding or amazing guitarist, multiple heads on that guitar. Could someone share what they mean by joy? Or elaborate a bit further? Are they overly joyous? Really happy?
That's me, Chris, because my mission in life is bringing joy to people.
Ah, you bring joy.
And I was told this morning that is my superpower, so I'm owning it.
Great superpower. So there's another one that looks a bit like organization. We've got one that's a dog. Anyone want to elaborate a bit further about that? Caring for animals, maybe? Patience. We've got what looks like a music scene at a club or a... What does that one represent?
Music production.
Ah, production music. I'm really perplexed about the dog. What does it mean? Are you caring for animals? What's the...
I'm a volunteer dog walker.
Ah, makes sense. Cool. So yes, to reiterate on this one, it's really easy to create an icebreaker. The best way I find to do this is just to create an open space, a frame, and creating frames very easy. There is a button on the bottom left-hand corner, the farthest left-hand corner side of your screen, where it says frames. That enables you to create new frames. Just create a frame, a space where people can just answer a question, either by typing if they prefer, speaking out loud if they prefer, or if they would like to do so, create an image. Obviously, it's great to see visuals, and often you can do it via GIFs as well if you prefer. That's a great one. GIF Party is a great icebreaker I often like to use. GIF Party works by getting the team to agree a common phrase that represents them, or that trying to stop the timer there. A common phrase that represents them or that is particularly pertinent to that team, and then getting them to find a GIF on giphy.com and pasting it in. Always good for a laugh, and then they get to vote which one they think is the best, the one that represents them best. Any questions on icebreakers before we move on? All right, so we've actually covered voting now, both forms that I tend to use, which is the dot voting and the actual voting functionality built into Myro. Use both as and when you feel you need to. Affinity mapping, let's take a look at that. This one's quite cool. And again, I'm going to get you guys to create a bit of content here as we do it. So I want to bring everyone to the frame we're at, which is here. Answer the question in these post-it notes, why do you attend meetups? So I mean meetups on meetup.com. Why do you attend these events? And once we've got people's thoughts and views, we're going to tag them, and then we're going to use a bit of functionality called the clusterizer, which is great for affinity mapping. So it's a good way of, once you've got some content, you've got a team's thoughts and views on a topic, it's a great way to cluster them all together rather than you having to manually organize them all. So we've got some themes appearing out here now. So we've got to eat pizza. It's not really a theme, but a theme, learning seems to be a common one. Sharing experiences and meeting people. So there's a few themes there. To keep myself at the top of my game. Casual chatting. So we'll give it another 30 seconds or so, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how we can cluster these with an affinity mapping tool. Okay, so if you left click any of these post-it notes, you'll have the ability to apply a tag. And you do so, you'll see a little tag icon appear next to the smiley face. What I'd like your guys' help with is to tag all of these post-it notes that have got writing in them with the appropriate tags. So anything that's to do with learning, I'd like you to put a tag of learn, and it doesn't exist yet, so I'm going to create it. Anything to do with meeting people, put a tag, or I'm going to put a tag of network so people can help with that. I'm going to give it a different color. And what was that? So it's learning, meeting people, and sharing. Maybe that's a tag of its own. I'll give that a green color tag. All right, are they all tagged? So all of the learning ones, they have a little red tag saying learn, yep. Meeting people will have network, good. All right, so they're all tagged. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to bulk highlight them all in that same way I showed you earlier by pressing Shift on my keyboard and then dragging the box. And then on your left-hand navigation panel, beneath the little pen icon, there's 3 little dots. That opens up an additional menu. If you are using Myro on your own instance and you have added the clusterizer tool, you basically press that in the same way you might have done to select emojis or anything else like that, and then you'll basically press build. And what it's going to do is automatically Affinity map those things for you. It's just doing that on my screen at the moment. It's just loading a little bit. I've already seen, so you can see it looks a bit messy because it's gone on over the top of what we've done there. But you'll see that if I drag these up and out of the way, bring everyone to me again, move this off the top of where we were, we've now got them very easily clustered, and it makes it easier to picture everything you've done together. So this works really well when you're doing a workshop with a large group of people and you've got lots and lots of things to bring together. It's a very easy way to just bring and automatically bring everything so that you can order them and try and make sense of them. So I tend to use this when I'm doing perhaps a retrospective or any sort of workshop where you're capturing en masse lots of ideas. It might be brainstorming as well. Tend to use this to go from the initial capture of ideas to then trying to bring ideas or actions out of those, so what we might do next. So after this, for example, we did a quick technique to identify why people come to meetups. The majority of you said to learn, so that would be the main theme. If this was a workshop I was leading, I'd be thinking, okay, most people were doing this to learn, so I'm going to make sure the content that we do is focused on learning, and I'd probably be looking to dig deeper now. So what is it you're looking to learn? What's your learning style? What's your preference? I tend to aim to make workshops I do a mixture of learning styles, so provide visuals, provide audio to cater for the fact that people learn in different ways. Any questions on affinity mapping before we move on?
The clusterizer, does it only work with the desktop install of the app, or does it work with the online as well?
I've only ever used it with the online, so to be honest, I don't know if it works with the desktop version.
Okay, it's just I ended up with a separate tab that says install clusterizer in your team, and it just didn't seem to do anything amazing.
Okay, so when you haven't installed it, you need to install it for the first time into that team, and so it's an extra app, but it should be free. Once you've installed it, then obviously you've got the access to do it. It doesn't come by default, to my understanding. It's only a relatively new feature that they've released that I've discovered, and I thought it'd be great to share.
Cool.
Okay, Myroverse. Is anyone familiar with the Myroverse? No? Okay, well the Myroverse is accessible on your left-hand navigation panel. Above the little T for text, you've got a thing that says templates. When you press that, it will load up a screen allowing you to select a number of pre-built templates that Myro makes available to you. But on the left-hand navigation panel, again, of that pop-up that appears, beneath popular, it will say Myroverse. And if you click that, it's going to take you to essentially a place where it's full of crowdsourced community templates that people have created and made available to people. I need to get around to uploading loads of my templates onto here, and they've asked me a few times to do so. I just haven't gotten around to it yet. But the reason I share this is because before you go to start off a workshop or facilitate a session, why rebuild the wheel? Take a look at what's already out there. Once you find something, you can basically bring that same template into your own Myro instance and use it, adjust it, alter it for your needs. It's a great starting point. I often just browse through the new additions for Miroverse just to give me ideas, just to give me creative ways of doing new things. So there's new things getting added all the time. So if I'm scrolling through it now, I'm seeing templates for something called lightning jam decision, retrospectives, a triple diamond technique, conversion funnel backlog, stakeholder mapping, personas, 5 whys analysis, whiteboard framing, team canvases, all sorts. There's loads there. Hundreds and hundreds of free templates. If you go directly to myro.com/Myroverse, you can filter around by tags newly added and things like that. There's templates that have just been added recently. There's a calendar for 2021. There's a template that you can use for helping identify ways that your team can transition from physical face-to-face working to virtual working. Obviously, hopefully you'd expect people to have done that by now. We're about a year in, but it doesn't hurt to consolidate and get everything down as to good techniques, what looks good and what doesn't. So Myroverse, completely free. I do recommend you use it. It's often a starting point for me when I'm trying to think of new ways of doing things. And as I said, you can just pull your own templates into your own Myro instance and use them as you wish. Right, what have we not covered yet? So navigation. You'll have seen ways to navigate around already, but I'm going to introduce you to a few additional ones. So I'm going to bring everyone to where I am. We are on the navigation screen. So you'll have seen me use this bring people to you button, and to the left of it at the top here is the hide cursors. Right at the top of this frame I'm showing you, there's a little red circle thing with my name, CS. If you press that button, it will allow you to bring people to you, everyone to you, or it can bring an individual person to you if they're lost. Very useful when you're facilitating workshops. Navigation using frames. In the bottom left-hand corner of your screen, there is a little square and a couple of dashes inside it, which represents frames. If you click that, a pop-up will appear and it will give you an ordered list of frames from top to bottom, and that's just another way you can just scroll around. You can scroll up and down, and if you press any of those frames, it'll take you directly to them. You've also got the map. In the bottom right-hand corner of your screen, you'll have a little percentage, and if you hover over that, there is a map button. Again, I've circled it in the bottom right-hand side here. If you press on that, it makes a map appear on your screen, and that's just another way of quickly navigating around all the frames. It's more useful if you are familiar with what frames are what, but again, it's another tool for navigation. The last one that I use very frequently when I'm doing workshops is I try to make it so that people can self-navigate around. So I'll often link people using emojis or other shapes to other frames. And I tend to do this when I'm doing Agile games and things like that. But what I'm going to do is show you guys how to do that. So, and I've created lots of boxes here for you guys to practice it yourself. There's lots of little arrows and strongman arms. So what I'd like you to do is practice doing this. I'm going to show you guys first how to do it. Any frame, so any of these boxes, if you press it, basically a drop down will appear, or a box will appear, allowing you to press 3 little dots, and the very top option will be copy link. So once you've copied a link, then you can select any of these icons. So I'm moving around this arrow here. You can select that, and again the 3 little dots will appear, and you can press link to, and you can also shortcut to that by pressing Control K on your keyboard. You then basically paste in the link. I don't think I actually caught the link previously, so I need to grab that again. again, it's any frame, so I'm basically linking back to another box. This allows you to link people to wherever you want them to go. So I'm going to link people to, what did I say I wanted this to be? The top link was going to be the topic, so back to where we started. So I'm going to go to there, copy the link, navigate my way back to that icon, and then paste inside link. Now, anytime anyone presses that icon, so if I zoom right in here, that arrow has now got a little link button attached to it, which will allow you, if you select it, to jump to the topics frame. Is that working for you guys?
I just seem to get copy link after I do the 3 dots. So I've done copy link on like the frame and then selected an icon and I just get copy link again.
Strange. It might be something that you can only do as a host rather than a guest.
Is anyone else getting the ability to paste?
I have the same problem like you said.
So do I.
Okay, so it seems to me this might be something that's locked down to hosts or facilitators rather than guests to create links. But once they're created, if you are facilitating a workshop and you have a paid instance for Myro, then you can create these links and enable people to navigate their own way around quite easily. Could I just
I seem to have it working okay.
Okay. So where have you managed to create a link?
I've dropped a URL actually in one of them. Don't know that's what you meant to happen. But...
No, so what I was trying to get you to do is to put a link against the icon itself. So if we were to look into the far left hand one here, I'm going to bring everyone's screen once more. On where it says above the topics and where the little dartboard is, there should be now a little arrow. And if you were to click that, it should take you to that frame. Does that work for you guys?
Not for me, but...
Do you want to try again? I've just seen a few...
Oh, you've got to come off it and go back on it. Yeah, bit weird.
I think it's because they were the objects themselves were at the back rather than at the front, so I've just moved them to the front and they should now take you to different places. So I've placed a link to the key takeaways one, I've placed a link to the topics one. It's just another way of bouncing people around, navigating them to places you want them to move towards. And then obviously the last resort is bring everyone to you. So yeah, I don't know if anyone's been able to do that themselves. It might, as I say, it might be a facilitator only functionality. Unfortunately, they tend to change some of the rules with what facilitators can do versus what guests can do. So they want to incentivize people having paid accounts. Okay, I'm conscious we've got about 13 minutes, so I'm going to move on to the next one, promoting engagement. So these are the things that I do to promote engagement. Again, I'll bring everyone to the frame on that. So I try to build interaction into the sessions as much as possible. You'll have seen this throughout this workshop also. I want to have people actually doing actions rather than just being passively exposed to content or me just talking at you or at people. And I also aspire to, when I'm facilitating something, I don't just want to be the scribe. I don't want to be the person writing everything down for people. I would like them to be actively involved. And again, I find if they're actively involved, they are more likely to remain engaged throughout the rest of the session. Crowdsourcing agendas, you saw that at the beginning. Ideas engaging temperature is another thing I like to use. I said people remain engaged longer when they've been given a vote. It's not necessarily the fact that their idea was chosen, but it's the fact that they had an opportunity that tends to help keep people engaged. Obviously, if this was a longer workshop than an hour, I'd be looking to build breaks into the agenda. aiming for at least a 5-minute break, some sort of comfort break, something to get people's eyes off of the screen, and also mixing up the facilitation style, so making it so that people are actively doing things versus maybe doing breakout rooms and things like that. A key thing in this current virtual world is obviously enabling quieter voices to be heard. So a lot of the ways I tend to do this is via silent reflection. So you'll observe in a lot of the sessions that I do is that I will allow people to input their answers on post-it notes and set a timer. And then afterwards, that's when we would talk these through. And by doing that, it can help people that are a bit more introverted to share their thoughts without being drowned out by perhaps more dominant voices. And then obviously you can use the timer functionality to capture thoughts. You can then proceed to breakout rooms and use techniques like 1, 2, 4 all to take people's ideas and trim them down and then obviously get towards a decision. And lastly, immersing people in the content, a little creativity, using, I often do retrospectives, for example, with movies or video game themes, anything to get people thinking about it, not just about work, but having a bit of fun with it. So I did a retrospective last week on Back to the Future, so it's called the Back to the Future perspective. I released one on Lord of the Rings recently. There was loads of Christmas themed ones. Anything to keep things a little bit fresher, a little bit newer, I find again helps with keeping people engaged and collaborating. What haven't we covered? So post-workshop. So once you've done a workshop, what do you want to do then? So you've led a workshop. You might then want to export the content you've produced, the output that you've got, the ideas, the brainstorm, the actual retrospective actions, all those things. You want to export those and share them very easily. So you've got options like, if you press, you can see in this panel here, there's little arrows pointing to them. Just right to where it says Magic with Myro Workshop, there's a little arrow pointing upwards. If you press that, it brings up an option to export either to PDF, save the board as a template, save it as an image, or download a board backup. If you were to download a board backup, what it does is essentially create this file called an RTB file, .rtb, and that is how you can either enable others that aren't, because your template isn't on the Miroverse, this is one way you can enable others to use the templates you create. So again, I often do this with retrospective templates or any other workshop styles I create. I enable a RTB file to be sent via email or hosted somewhere in a shared drive, and that way a person can then upload that RTB file into their own Myro instance and then use what you've created for their own. And lastly, what you can do is you can export individual frames as well. So if you select any individual frame, and again, I tend to do this as a facilitator. I haven't actually tested if you can do this as a guest. But when you highlight any frame and press the little 3 dots option, assuming the frame is unlocked, it brings up this option to the right here where it enables you to export as image into like a JPEG or another file type. And that I find great for just singling out a single frame and sharing it very quickly, and then you can often ping it via Slack or again email or something to that effect. So those are the things I tend to do post-workshop. I'm gonna wrap up by talking through my key takeaways from this workshop. So the things I encourage you guys to think about is exploring the Miroverse. As I said, you don't need to create something new every time you do a workshop. There's often lots of community content out there freely available. Obviously learning from the other diverse range of people and thoughts and situations they face, there's an absolute gold mine of content out there that you can leverage for your own. Make time for personal interaction. Again, I've kind of mentioned this things like icebreakers. I find workshops flow better with a bit of rapport built, time built for that in. Crowdsourcing agenda, you've heard me talk about this earlier, but giving people a vote helps them with remaining engaged. I encourage you to, if you do create any templates yourselves, any workshops that you think would be of use to others, give back to the community, add them to the Miroverse, or share them with your network. Use affinity mapping, really easy way of simply grouping and clustering objects. And lastly, as I said, creativity, a little bit of creativity, spending a little, maybe half hour before a workshop, just thinking about different ways you can engage people and show people how to do things, I find goes a long way. You don't really have much to lose by that. It's really easy, I find, when you're doing certain ceremonies on a regular basis, whether it's retrospectives or anything else like that, it can become all too easy for it to become, what did we do last time, or what are we going to do better this time? And it becomes very, very stale and frustrating. And just a little bit of creativity, asking a question in a different way, making a bit of time in your workshop to do that, I find, it pays dividends. So the last thing I want to show you guys is capturing feedback. Now, for me, I always aim to capture feedback as much as possible. The Agile Manifesto is all about customer centricity, and you guys, or the people that you deliver workshops and sessions to, are your customers. So I always embed some method of feedback capture. And I try to make it a little bit more than just post-it notes. So I always try and give it a bit of a theme. So the theme I've given today, and I'm going to bring everyone to me, and I would love if you could spend a few minutes, the last few minutes of this class, letting me know your thoughts. As I said, this is the first time I've done this class, or this workshop, so I have no idea how it will have been received. I've created a bit of a wishing well situation here. So on this screen, you've got 3 types of question. I'm going to lock that image quickly. There are 3 types of question. How could this workshop have been more useful to you? And that's represented by the most gold colored coins. And if you double click inside the coins, you can type and add messages to them. So the questions are, how could this workshop have been more useful to you? The silver coin is, what did you like or dislike about the workshop? And the last one is the yellows at the bottom, the most gold color, I guess, the most shiny yellow. If I had one wish about this workshop, it would be. And I'd very much appreciate if you guys let me know, so that then I can alter this accordingly and make it even better going forward the next time I do it. And if you prefer, you don't have to do this in silence, so you can feel free to talk out loud. And if it's really bad, let me know. I understand I'm very thick-skinned. There's nothing you could say that would hurt me. And yeah, once you've done it, drop the coin onto the well. I guess we can't physically drop it inside, but drop the coin onto the well. Drag it across there. It's really good feedback there. So you're not sure what's free versus what is paid. I could probably do a section that delineates that a little bit more in more detail, makes it clearer for people. I guess the audience I've assumed this is primarily for is those that are leading and facilitating workshops themselves. And with that in mind, I would expect them to have a paid instance of Myro, so they wouldn't have to have the issues of not knowing or not being able to use functionality. But I can definitely try and make it a bit clearer.
Nosy at the pricing, and the pricing seems to move into the next stage as being like, I'll call it the very, very baby team of 2 people. And it's one of those where I'd love the features of the 2 people, but only for me.
Interesting. So, but obviously, I'm not in any way affiliated with Myro. I have no detail as to I'd be sharing anything that I've learned from their website myself from using the tool. So I don't have any affiliation with them. I'm not kind of trying to promote their use or anything. It's just sharing what I've learned.
No, it's fine. I like the idea of the unlimited ones that you could actually have. but that's the bit then that I don't know whether I'd have to pay for 2 people.
Okay.
I have a question, Chris.
Yeah, shoot.
What's the top number of participants above which you found that having an online workshop is not manageable anymore?
So if you're a great facilitator, it can very much be done. And I know I've been part of Myro workshops that have got up to 500 people. It's very, very busy. But obviously you have to shape the boards in a way that allows people to break out into different areas. So I've in terms of performance, I've seen it with up to 500 people. I've personally facilitated one with up to, I think, 70, 75 people myself. And it's using these same sort of techniques. It's creating ways for people to contribute. I basically hosted an office Christmas party via Myro. And I used lots of things, like there was the way of capturing feedback, or the way of capturing people's thoughts about their favorite Christmas movies and things like that was basically they were decorating a Christmas tree. There was a section where people could decorate a Christmas cookie with random things like little hats and beer and things. There's all sorts you can do with it. So my answer is I've seen it with up to 500 people, but I've personally done 75.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions that have gone unanswered? What else would you like to know? I'm happy to stay around for a little bit longer and answer questions individually if things haven't been covered. Nothing else?
Well, there's a lot of other stuff, but I wouldn't want to to kind of dominate the conversation. So, but if there's no one else, I had another question. If there's no one else, asking questions now or commenting.
Well, the other thing
I'll just give the comment that I was going to say. The comment that I'm usually end up using Microsoft Whiteboard at work because we're kind of like bought into Microsoft and Teams and everything like that, and Miro is just so much better.
Yeah, I completely agree. When I have to use a Microsoft Whiteboard or a Google Jamboard, I can make do, but it doesn't feel as slick an experience, and the functionality isn't nearly as rich, and it's quite basic. So I don't tend to be able to make as interactive experiences or make it as visually pleasing, which is a shame. But you can get the basic things done. You can still crowdsource ideas, and there's ways of doing it. It's just not quite sleek. The other thing I'd say is if anyone isn't already a connection with me on LinkedIn, feel free to add me. It's the Virtual Agile Coach, and if you have any additional questions, feel free to send me a message there as well. I will be sharing this video on my YouTube channel, so feel free to share it with any of your team or anyone who hasn't been able to attend, so they can, or you can rewatch it as well if anything you want to catch up on. And I've also got my website is www.thevirtualagilecoach.co.uk, and on that is where I share. It's basically a blog with a mixture of lots of resources that I create and share. A lot of them are Myro focused, so feel free to check that out if you want to see that. And there was that question that you were going to ask if you...
So yeah, I wanted to ask you about meat butter. Are you using meat butter as on a regular basis? Because this is the first time I use it.
So meat butter is, it's something I'm using regularly. I use it for a lot of the workshops that I do outside of my full-time job, and it's a new tool by a lean startup based in Denmark. That it's currently free. I quite like it. Their aspiration is to try and bring all of the things that a facilitator would need inside one place. So rather than having to go to this place for your video conference and this place for your whiteboard and this place for that, they want to try and bring everyone into one location. I think what they're doing so far is pretty great. They're adding new features all the time. They're improving performance and things like that. Yeah, it's got some issues here and there, but I quite like it so far. Any other questions? Any other burning desires people want to know about Myro? All right, sounds great. Well, as I said, thank you for being guinea pigs in my workshop experience. Thanks for everyone for engaging and collaborating, and I hope to see you all again at a future workshop of mine. All the best.
Thank you.
Or should I say?
I don't know how to leave this thing.
Just close.
Sorry.
Close the browser.
Bye.
Bye.